Hi, this is Jim from Weird Nashville, and when we released our video package on surviving Star Trek Phase 2 test footage, the response from our viewers was immediate. Many folks contacted us via comments and emails with their own stories and questions. Several even pointed us in a direction where we could find even more test footage. Now, the footage you're about to see is not necessarily footage that didn't exist before. The footage has been found in a variety of places on the internet, but I can tell you this. No other video on YouTube or anywhere else contains all of this footage together. So join us after the break as we revisit even more footage than we did before, as well as go over some things we've discovered since the first video was released. Now, just a quick reminder that this video is part of a series of videos available on our channel, as shown in the collage above. Be sure to keep an eye out for our new upcoming videos. If you haven't already, like this video, subscribe to us, and then you'll be notified as soon as these videos are released. Now, ironically, one of the most popular pieces of footage from Phase 2 is a piece of footage shot of William Shatner. Now, it wasn't in our first video, but we got lots of emails and comments saying, hey, how could you possibly miss Shatner's Phase 2 footage? Well, the problem is, it's not Phase 2 footage. A YouTuber put up a video of William Shatner wearing what appears to be a Star Trek Command Gold uniform while talking to Robert Reed in what appears to be a Star Trek Engineering Red uniform. Bill's age is also exactly what you would expect it to be for after the first series, but before the movies. But it's not Star Trek Phase 2. It's a scene from the TV movie Prey for the Wildcats. The video has been up and active on YouTube for 9 years, 300,000 plus views. It gets viewed still today at the rate of 2 views an hour, so I can understand how these urban legends start. Now, David Gautreau was the very first actor hired to appear in Phase 2. He was given the job on September 26, 1977 for the first time, after he had shot a couple of screen tests. The first clip has no surviving audio that can be found. We never see the face of the other person dressed in engineering red either. Now, prior to getting this job, David's only acting experience was a single appearance in The Man from Atlantis. He didn't have an agent, but he was dating a woman who worked for one. She found out about the role and set up his casting appointment herself.
I don't feel an attack is the logical approach at this moment. If you will allow me to take further...
Now remember, when we're looking at this is a screen test. I got a lot of comments about, well, thank God they didn't go forward with that hair. That's not Vulcan hair. But the hairstyle would be adjusted when they actually started filming.
My readings seem to indicate some sort of sensor unit attached to each device.
Now in this next clip, which is new to this package, we get a special 2-for-1 screen test. David is shown here testing for Zahn.
Will Decker. How do you do, sir?
We also have an unnamed actor who is testing for the part of Decker. Now, the actor we've never been able to identify yet.
Lieutenant, you're erasing those tapes.
His face does look kind of familiar.
Sir, if I am to function efficiently as science officer, I must become intimately familiar with each circuit in this system.
Carry on.
Thank you, sir. I will.
However, I will point out, Decker's part was never actually finally cast until November. Finally, I think we're seeing a completely different testing day from the ones we just saw that David did with the Engineering Red crewmen. Why would David do a second screen test? Believe it or not, this was because Major Barrett's concerned that she may not be able to play realistically against such a young actor. In particular, she had already identified a British actor that she wanted to have the position, so she arranged for that British actor to come in and do a test shot, and for David to do a test shot. Well, the British actor pretty much trashed the test shot, so David was reconfirmed for the second time. Now, of course, once it was confirmed that Nimoy was indeed going to return, the role of Zahn was greatly reduced. And because of that, David asked to be released from his commitment for portraying Zahn. By this particular time, he had returned to some stage theater acting, and he didn't want to tie up his time waiting on standby for the movie. So Zahn became Sonak, and Sonak became transporter fodder. However, he was offered a chance to play a different role in the movie. He would appear as the commander of Epsilon 9.
Continuing to attack.
Our sensor drone is intercepting this on quad L14.
That's within Klingon boundaries. Who are they fighting?
Unknown, sir.
Since this was going to be filmed well after principal photography of the movie wrapped up, it would not conflict with his stage work. And in the end, Commander Branch had quite a bit more screen time than Sonak. We now go into December 22nd, 1977, where a series of engineering screen tests were taken. Now you may notice that these screen tests are actually in widescreen format. They are not in the 4:3 television format that the other clips were in. This is because by this time in December, they had already committed that they were going to be doing Star Trek the Motion Picture. The purpose of these tests were done to see exactly how well the Phase 2 engineering room stood up and what would have to be redressed and redesigned for Star Trek the Motion Picture. Now as you watch this test, it becomes an obvious reminder to us that this was the way that science fiction looked on TV in the 1970s. Think of Logan's Run, the first edition of Battlestar Galactica, Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, things like that. Lots of pastels, wide open spaces, with little in the way of additional details. This was referred to as minimalism in the 1970s. The costumes were far more relaxed and loose-fitting, almost ridiculously so. But I have to say, there's no way someone who worked in engineering could ever be taken seriously wearing a combination overalls jumpsuit. Just saying. Now in this series of shots, we see two crew members exchange objects, and then there's a brief splice, after which they continue on with their conversation. In this alternative take, at the point where we previously had a splice that connected two discussion scenes together, they instead switch to a shot from under the glass floor that is designed to show the height of the central warp core. Just so you have an idea of the overall size of the engineering set, here's a photo from down on the lower floor where the camera was. The set was actually 3 stories high in order to give forced perspective, and it was used in Star Trek the Motion Picture after being redressed, complete with a glass floor, which you can see here with Admiral Kirk visiting engineering. Again, like in the engineering test, we have another test done in movie format rather than TV. Each of the bridge consoles were actually functional to the point that they would produce audible and visual responses when certain keys were pressed. There were instruction manuals that were given to the actors. If you were going to be interacting with this thing during the movie, you actually had a user's guide to show you how to use it. Now, Persis auditioned for the part of Ilia on October 27th, 1977, which was the second day of auditions held for that part. She was given the role the very next day. Now, I need to make something clear because, again, we got quite a few emails and comments about this one. There's an urban legend going around about this that said that she was so dedicated to getting the part that she actually showed up bald for the role, and unfortunately, that is not true. She wore a skull cap just like everybody else, and if you watch the clip in the lower window here, you can actually see Fred Phillips actually having to shave her hair off in preparation for Star Trek the Motion Picture. Now, this next shot was done on the same day that Persis did her test, but it was shot on a different camera using a different actress. Now, who this actress is, we've never really been able to find out. The picture has been circulating since 1998, as far as I know. It was actually in a book called Star Trek Phase 2, The Lost Series, and they actually showed the picture along with pictures of Persis, but they did not identify anybody other than Persis in those pictures. But if you look closely at the filmed footage, you can tell that this is probably someone of European descent, rather than someone with an Eastern descent in India. Okay, that takes us through this again. I want to thank you for the time that you spent with us, and I look forward to talking to you again in the future. Please be sure to like this video, subscribe to us, and turn on notifications so you'll be notified when the very next thing is released. And hopefully, if everything goes to plan, it will be on the shuttlecraft Galileo.